Hello. About the time that started, like, all this stuff over here just started falling. I was like, "What is going on?" Perfect timing.
Yes.
Happy Saturday.
There it is. I was like, it's your turn first, Mandi. You have to say happy Saturday. Otherwise, people will not know that we started.
It threw me off. Sorry.
Hi. Was your week less busy this week than last week?
No.
Oh.
I had less supervision this week, so that was nice. I had just as much during the day. So, yeah.
It's always busy. We finally had, like, I think it was our second, like, full week. We only had one schedule change, so it was nice to kind of get into the groove. Like that groove as a teacher where you're finally like, I'm not planning every second of my plan and after school to try to get ready for the next day. Like the class starts to run itself a little bit.
Right. So, well, my doctoral class that I teach started this week too. So that adds to it a little bit. But I asked my husband, I said, because this year has just been busy, like crazy busy. And I said, I don't remember it being quite this busy last year, because there are some years that you just feel like you don't catch up. I said, well, that's so far. That's where we're at with this. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's every year's interesting, right? I feel like that's the fun part about teaching, but that's also what's challenging is that you never know what you're going to get. Like this year, we seem to have a group of sixth graders that are just bringing experiences and problems that we have to navigate that we haven't navigated before. It's like, can somebody just have the same problem that other kids have had last year so that we have this situation down? Like, could somebody just be like, keep it the norm? It just makes for a lot more fires, right? To put out.
It does. Well, and if you think about it, like it's a community of people, and every year you bring in new things into this community of people. So it's like a very evolving whole group. And so I think it's going to be different every year, which is also probably the fun of education, is that get something new every time.
I would be bored if it wasn't, you know?
Yes. And I really think a lot of educators, people who are educators, actually are looking for that like constant change. Things aren't the same all the time. I really think that people like that are drawn to education.
Agreed. I think it's our best friend and our worst enemy, right? Like it's the exhausting thing and the thing that we love the most about it. So that's why, probably why one of the many reasons why we haven't quite figured out how to make things, smoother for educators. But anyways, that's a topic for a whole other
we can just have a whole Doodle and Chat on that one.
Let's change education with one episode of Doodle and Chat.
That's right. Well, we do have a guest today that I am really excited about.
Yes, me too.
So she has been an educator for almost 30 years, serving as a middle school educator and now as an instructional coach. She's a notebooker, haiku and poetry writer, pink typewriter owner, and sharer of joy. She shares her love of notebooking and positive messages at her school, on her blog, and on social media. To quote her, "This is me using my words for good, not evil." I'm so excited to doodle and chat all about Michelle Haseltine today.
Hello.
Good morning.
Nice introduction.
Thank you.
We're so excited that you're here with us today.
I am so excited to be here, talking about my favorite things with amazing educators.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're just really excited for, just to share a little bit more of all the amazingness that Michelle is with the universe. Put it out there for other people to learn and hear about.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So it was funny because we were chatting so much that the time came up and I'm like, Michelle, we have to start the show. And I was like, do you need to know anything about what we're going to do? And she's like, let's just wing it. And I was like, she's perfect company. So for Michelle, I suspect that Michelle knows a little bit about what she's getting into. Otherwise she wouldn't be here. Either that or she really trusts us. She just showed up.
Both.
So for Michelle and anybody else who is joining us here today, we have the bowl that knows, and we call it the bowl that knows because it always gives us just the right question for the person in that moment of conversation, the episode, right? So we have several questions in here that have been researched and written just especially for you. And then we have a couple of random ones. I think I might have put 5 instead of 4. I lost count because I was talking and counting, and that never really works very well. So Mandi and I are going to turn our cameras on, and we're going to pull from the bowl, and we're going to doodle and chat all about you this morning.
Excellent. Awesome.
And just so you know, sometimes the random haikus make their way in when we don't even mean to. So we'll be in good company today if that happens.
We would.
Fantastic.
It would be fantastic.
And when I say random haikus, like, I mean random haikus.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know.
I thought that one time it would be funny to go on the internet and search AI for like random haikus and then make them prompts for our drawing episodes. And somehow every once in a while they get into the wrong bag and I get mixed up. And now that I'm thinking about it, no, I did the right bag, didn't I? Yeah, I did. We're good. So you never know.
Listen, I think any educator has to be ready to just go wherever it leads you, right?
That is very true. Very true.
Yes.
Very true. All right. With that said, let's see what happens.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
I'm extra happy today. I think it's Michelle and coffee combination.
Yeah, I have mine too.
And extra sleep. I always look forward to Saturday and Sunday for extra sleep.
Yes, that is an important part of our life. It's extra, any opportunity for extra sleep.
A little bit more, exactly.
Yes. I think this is a great one to start with. What lessons have you learned going from 28 plus years in the classroom to year 2 now, right, as my middle school instructional facilitator?
That is such a good question. And it's funny because I was thinking about that yesterday. I was thinking about, when you're in the classroom, your schedule, as much as the unexpected happens, your schedule is what it is. You know what to expect. You know what classes you're teaching. You know what students you'll see. You don't know what the day will bring or what they will bring, but you know what that will bring. And as an instructional coach, I check my calendar every morning and I say, oh, I have 3 meetings today. I'll work on this project today. I'll work on this. Never, ever does the day go as planned. Ever. But what I love about it is the day never goes as planned. I am constantly learning things. I feel like as an instructional facilitator, my most important job is to serve the teachers and to do anything I can to support them in their practice.
Love it.
And I count it as a win when I can do something to help them. So I feel like in that way, while my ultimate goal is to support the students, obviously I do it through supporting the teachers. Whereas when I was in the classroom, my focus was on my students. This job gives me a little bit more of a global view. And so I can see a little bit more I can see the school and I can see how helping what English is doing and how we can connect that to what they're doing in science. And did you know they're doing this? And to help teams make those connections. So it's just been an amazing transition, but it is a transition and it is a challenge. And it is something that, as teachers, I think our identity very often is being a teacher.
Yes.
And it has been hard to say, I'm an instructional coach because it's a little bit different, but I feel like I'm growing into it and I'm definitely loving the people that I'm working with and still getting to kind of sneak into classrooms. I got to sneak into a 7th grade classroom yesterday and read aloud to a couple of classes. And I mean, it's just so much fun.
So, 28 years, you're cruising towards retirement-ish, right? Years.
Ish, sure.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our different, goals in mind, right? And goals.
Right.
but to make this big of a change, like, was this a goal you've always had and you were waiting for an opportunity, or did you just decide like I was ready to impact educators, or what fueled the change?
Well, I started as an elementary teacher a million years ago. And then I finally moved to scary middle school. I was very scared of middle school for such a long time. I will never, ever leave middle school. They are the greatest ever. But I was an English teacher. And then I moved from being an English teacher to an electives teacher. I taught communications. And just going from a core subject to an elective subject, it was just such an interesting switch, even though I was still a teacher. And I had always, in my county, we're building kind of our instructional coaches and our facilitators. And for the longest time, we had technology facilitators. They're part of Virginia. Every school in Virginia has one. And I have had the most amazing role models as the instructional facilitators for technology since I've been in this county. And I've talked to each one of them and said, someday I might want to try that. And I was encouraged by all of them. And when I moved into that electives role, that was a transition, because when you are a core teacher, especially English, everything is very, very important. When you're an electives teacher, you're treated a little differently, And that was a step, and I loved it, but it was a transition for me. And I thought, I think I'm ready to try something. Like, I think I'm ready to try something new. And I'll tell you something, it took me a long time to find the right role and the right school. It was not just like one interview and I'm there. It took a long time to interview, to prepare. But I really do feel like I landed in the right place. And I have no designs on retiring anytime soon. I'm 52, so I have some time. Yeah. But even if I was retiring, for me, I feel like I need to feel like what I do matters. And I feel like I'm going to do that until the day I stop working. And so this was something new to challenge me. So I think that's why I kind of maybe just jumped into it.
Love it. So I know the show is about Michelle, but I have to make it about me for just a second. I drew a hand and it didn't suck.
Oh, look at how beautiful that is.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it doesn't look as awful as I thought it might as I went into it. Look at Mandi, I drew a hand.
I see that, but you actually draw pretty decent hands. So
I draw them big and chunky, because then it's like, if they're comical, then they can't be bad, because they're supposed to be funny.
That's okay. I think it's great.
Okay, I guess I should specify then, Mandi. I drew a sideways hand.
Okay, there you go. But it looks good. You did a really good job with that.
Yes, I'm very impressed.
Okay, back to Michelle.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
I am seriously extra today. That's okay. It's okay to be happy, right?
Of course.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And extra. We love extra.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. I was hoping I would get this question, and I was hoping that my absorbance of all things Michelle was correct. So if I'm off on it, just tell us, but let's just go for it. Okay. Tell why these Parks and Recs, you love that show, right?
I have Leslie Nope right here.
Tell why these Parks and Recs quotes are also good advice for educators.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
So anybody who has sensitive ears, there's a swear word coming. Never half-ass two things. Whole ass one thing, says Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson.
So how is that good advice for educators, Michelle?
Never half-ass. I just love that. I think that's jump in. I think that so often as educators, we are so often presented with new programs, new procedures, new ideas, new new ways. And if you've been in education for more than 5 minutes, you know that new keeps coming around, and very often it's just recycled in a different whatever. But I very often think that sometimes with some of these new things, jump in with 2 feet. You're not going to get it perfect, but you're going to find your way. I feel like very often, I know I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I get stuck on a perfectionism kick and I don't want to do it until I can do it right.
Yeah.
And that is probably half-assing it. That's trying to over prepare. And I think sometimes if I just jump in and figure it out on the way down, it'll be messy. It won't be perfect. But I do also think, especially when you're in the classroom, you're doing it in front of students or in front of teachers, it shows your willingness to take a risk. It shows your willingness to be vulnerable. And it shows that you don't know everything, which none of us do. And that you are going with your whole heart and your whole energy and your whole passion to try and do it, to figure out how it will best serve students, teachers, and education.
I love it.
Did you just randomly pick Parks and Rec?
Oh, no. I
Okay.
there were little nuggets in some of the
Okay,
things that
good.
you shared,
Okay,
and
good,
I
good,
was
good.
I tried to find those nuggets because they tend to be
I'm
the fun ones.
very. Did you know? I don't think that I went to college with Leslie Knope, with Amy Poehler, and we shared. We were writing partners in a class in our senior year capstone class. Is that not the craziest thing ever?
That is crazy. I also looked up how to say her name, and I loved it even more because I didn't realize it was pronounced Nope. And I was like, of course it is Nope.
Of course it's yes.
Have you seen it spelled, Mandi? Do you know? It's
Yeah.
K.
Okay. Yeah, I watch Parks and Rec. So.
Sorry, I should. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah.
Should we keep going? I think let's stay on the Parks and Rec train. Here we have a quote from Leslie Knope. We have to remember what's important in life. Friends, waffles, and work. Or waffles, friends, and work. But work has to come third. So why is that good advice for educators?
That I literally can recite these quotes.
I did see that.
The reason that work comes third is that in this job, you can get lost. There have been years where I do feel like I put work first. Those are years where, as the year ended, I was so burnt out. I got sick right after school ended. It took a physical toll, an emotional toll. And it's like the, on the airplane where they say, put your oxygen mask on your child first. You have to take care of the physical and the emotional. You have to have a full cup, so to speak. So when you go into the classroom or into the school, that you really can do your best. And it's so funny that that's the quote you bring up, because I still struggle with boundary setting. I still struggle with checking email, because if you all have been in education as long as I have, when we started, there was no email. So there was no boundaries, it was just, you couldn't do anything like that. And I had to literally, I remember being in the classroom when email became an expectation. And I remember checking it all day long. All day. In the middle of class, I would check it. And it took me a few months to realize I was getting so upset in the middle of class because I was frustrated that I had something else to do. But what I noticed was that it was taking my attention away from my students.
Yeah.
And so that's when I thought, okay, I have to be conscious of when I'm checking my email. I have to be aware that when I'm in my classroom with my students, I am in my classroom with my students. My phone is not out. My email's not up. I'm not paying attention to any of that. I'm with them. And I think that I can do that now with my teachers, with my students in my job, because when I'm out of school, I am with my friends. I am at home. I am doing the things that bring me joy and that fill my cup, so that I have the time and energy when I'm in the building to have that focus.
I love it. And I couldn't agree more.
I think it's something that we probably all deal with, right? Like setting boundaries and really being aware of them.
For sure. Because I mean, I think if you get in that the whole of not separating, balancing work, we can all be exceptional teachers if we use extra hours away from the classroom, right? If we put more time into what we can bring to the classroom, but there's a cost for that.
Right.
And it's also just not healthy for the parents that we work with, and it's also not healthy for the students either. So I loved everything that you said about that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
And Leslie knows. I mean, let's just say it, right?
No, I mean, she's so smart.
All right, I'm gonna pick one more. I'm gonna go really random because I'm kind of wanted to see how you pull this one in because it'll be fun. This is from Andy.
Challenge. I love it. It's from okay.
This is from Andy. So of course
I mean,
just remember, every time you look up at the moon, I too will be looking at the moon. Not the same moon, obviously. That's impossible. So what advice would Andy give us as educators with his very, scientific explanation of looking at the moon?
You know what Andy has? Andy just has heart, and he just believes what he says with all of his heart. And I love that about him. So, looking up, but we're not looking at the same moon. Okay, you know what? I'm going to support Andy because maybe we're not looking at the same moon. Maybe we're technically looking at the same scientific moon, but we all bring our own stories to it. We all bring our own baggage. We all bring our own perspective. You think about years ago, do you remember that picture of the dress on the internet? Was it blue or was it, I don't even remember the other color because to me I only saw blue. But I think it taught a lot of us about perspective. And we genuinely think we could be standing next to each other and looking at the same moon, but what are you seeing? What are you noticing? What are you looking at? When you first said that quote, it brought me back to high school because I was an exchange student for a summer in Spain, when in between my junior and senior year, and I'd never been away from my parents. I was very scared to go halfway across the world in 1988. The late 1900s, as the kids say, and like by myself. And my dad said to me, Michelle, just look up and we're looking at the same moon. And I thought, oh, so when you said that quote, that brought me to that moment. And so I'm wondering what the moon quote means for you or for Mandi, like what does it bring? So that's what I think, just bring yourself to the job.
I love it. I love it. You're right, and I'm probably not as well watched in Parks and Rec as you and Mandi, but he really is unapologetic, isn't he?
I mean, just
for
completely.
For better or for worse, right? He is Andy.
And I mean, what a gift to just be yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do.
For sure. Absolutely.
But for him, it's not.
You're right.
I mean, it's not for him. Like,
you're right.
He's just himself, and it's not hard for him. He's just who he is, and he's good with it. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us, is that we are who we are, and that's what makes you you. That's what makes you special. And
yes,
I think sometimes we do overanalyze who we are and what we do. I know we had that conversation right before we went on air. But yeah, I think that's what makes each of us unique and suited for certain situations.
Exactly.
I love that. Yes, absolutely, Mandi. Wow, look at Parks and Rec bringing the deep,
Who knew?
Who knew, right?
Who knew? I mean, I was excited for that question, but Michelle took it to a whole other level. I love it. No, I mean that in the best way. Like,
no, thank you.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Here's another one I hoped we get. I can't wait to hear it. Why is Anne Shirley your kindred spirit?
Oh, can I tell you, I started at a new school this year, and at one of the very first meetings I went to, maybe three, two of the teachers went to Prince Edward Island this summer. And one of them, after I professed my love for all things Anne Shirley, and I've never been, one of them gave me a postcard from there.
So for friends who are not sure who Anne Shirley is, can you give us a little background?
I mean, she is the heroine of just the most wonderful book or series of books called Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery.
Yes.
And I think, you know what? Not something I ever thought I would say, but I think Anne Shirley has the same thing that Andy Dwyer has from Parks and Rec. Anne Shirley is not afraid to be herself.
You're right.
And in a time when girls weren't supposed to be so much, she was unapologetically herself. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why I just adore her. And all of the books and all of the things that she does. Now, listen, it also has to do with the writing of the books. I mean, L.M. Montgomery just builds an environment and characters that is so breathtakingly beautiful. It's almost poetic. And so I think that also grabbed me, because while I read all of the Anne series, she also has a series, Emily of New Moon, which, if you've not read Emily of New Moon, Emily is a writer where Anne turns into a teacher. I don't think I'm giving spoilers, right? I feel like, should I have said spoilers? But Emily of New Moon turns into a writer. That's about her being a writer. And again, beautiful writing, very different character, but still something that I just love. Strong female characters in books. And Anne Shirley, I mean, there's just so many things that happen in those books, like things she gets herself into that I wasn't brave enough to get myself into. All the little trouble things she got into, but it was fun to read them and to see, how she got in and out of trouble.
Yes. And I guess, I mean, if we're going to do the Parks and Rec, connection, like Andy, the people around her will push back, but they ebbed and flowed together to both be better,
Yes.
to all be better people because of each other.
I think that's so true too, because Marilla and Matthew were not super open, and I mean, they were very farmers and very kind of ordinary, working hard people, and I think she just rocked their world. But you're right, they did grow with her, and because of her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, that nod to like really, like what Mandi said and what you've said, it's like that nod to like accepting people for where they're at and letting them, embracing that a little is really important,
It is. And doing that for yourself too.
Yeah.
I find that I can be good at showing grace to the people I work with and to my friends. And sometimes I'm not good at showing it to myself. Right?
I hear you. And I guess this is probably a little deeper than sometimes this show goes, but I think because we all share kind of the same age range as women, I heard you mention a little bit. I know Mandi's mentioned it before. I don't get as deep as sometimes that happens, but I think at our age, because of how we were raised and society raised us, I think we're in a journey of that moment where we are starting to push back. Like, this is who I am. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's weird, but like, I'm okay with that. And like, you deal with it but it's something that like younger generations or other people have done. But I think maybe it's just a journey that women our age do, and it's normal, but it's new to me. Right. But it does seem to be a common thread between the three of us, is that there is this part of us that, we've learned that it might not have always been seen as a positive, but now we're like, you know what? This is pretty awesome about me,
This is me. This is who I am. So.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
I will make changes for the things that are not good, but you know what? Some of the stuff is okay, even if it's weird.
Absolutely. I think the other thing as we talked earlier, there's a lot of people self-diagnosing because I think especially TikTok has been bringing about like these are some characteristics that people in these different neurodivergent groups have. And I think what I have started to realize is that I wonder why we call it neurotypical and neurodivergent, because I feel like this is just people and everybody is different. And who's to say what's typical and what's not typical?
Such a good
Because
point.
I think the class of people that we call neurodivergent, I think there's actually a lot more out there than what we thought. And so why is that different? So that's one of my strange musings in my brain that's been happening lately. Like, why are we just like it's a different, like they're just different from me?
Right. I think that's an excellent point, and it's something I've thought of too. And I wonder where it'll go.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Yeah.
I do
I
too.
think the awareness is really picking up, and I think we are going to get to the point where we're like, there's just different people who just look at things differently, and that's great.
Yes, I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Agreed too. Agreed.
Yeah.
For sure. What a fun conversation.
I know, this is great.
Oh, here we go. Good morning, sunshine. Why is Bella your sunshine and also a wonderful dog?
Oh, well, let me start by saying I actually lost Bella in May.
I was worried about that. I was worried about bringing it up. Are you okay to talk about it?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay to talk about it. Yeah,
Okay.
it was unexpected. I mean, she was 12-ish. You know, I adopted her. But I'll tell you something. That dog got me through the pandemic because it's just me, you know, and God bless her. She got me out of the house every day because I had to walk her and just sat next to me as I taught. And talk about a sassy dog or a sassy character. She knew what she liked. And I swear she had some cat in her sometimes. You know, she had the attitude. But she was always, she just was the cutest. And she, I don't know. She knew when I needed her near me. She knew it was okay when she needed space. She was not like a cuddly dog very often. But if I was upset or something happened, and she, like, dogs can sense that, you know, she would kind of cuddle up and sit right next to me. And I'm like, I just don't understand how you know this, but yes, I really needed you right near me. So I do. I miss her very much. She was a good girl.
That's special when we get those experiences with our pets. Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I always found great, like, I always smiled whenever there was a post of the two of you, because it was very apparent that, you know, there was a special connection for sure.
She was very well loved. And ironically, I lost her in that April. I guess it was April during spring break. I don't do this very often, but I took a road trip to Asheville, North Carolina for 3 or 4 days and brought her with me. She loved long car rides. She just loved being in the car and then walking around new places. We had so much fun. And I'm really grateful that I did that, because I feel like that's like one good memory I have of the two, spending time with her right before I had to put her down. So
that's wonderful.
I'm for that. Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Here we go. Hashtag 100-day project. Hashtag 100 days of notebooking. Hashtag 365 cards. Hashtag journey of joy. Where does your love and dedication to a creative streak come from?
That is such a good question. I think it just comes from wanting to challenge myself. But here's what's funny. I think streaks are important. I think they push us all to be better and stronger than maybe we thought we were, that we could do more than we ever thought. I was just talking yesterday about how I have a typewriter, and I bought it at Michael's. I wish it was like an old vintage one, but I got it at Michael's a few years ago. And I thought to myself, I want to use this typewriter. So I challenged myself to write 100 poems, or a poem a day on the typewriter for 100 days. And I think that was my first challenge. And I saw it in a book, and I can't remember what book it was, about making challenges. But here's the thing. I think for streaks, it's also important to miss a day.
Yes.
And here's why. I have a love-hate relationship with streaks, because when you break the streak, I do not go back to zero. I don't think that that's okay. I think it's more important to come back to the streak, and coming back, I think, is harder than starting the streak. And I used to, I only did it for 4 days and gave up. I'm a failure. I can't do anything. That was the story I would tell myself. I only did it for 20 days and gave up. I missed a day. I forgot. I gave myself no grace for that. And then I thought, no, but you're negating all the work you just did, or all the creativity you just expressed. And so I started thinking about this idea in streaks of, it's more important to come back. Coming back from a missed day, or whatever the streak is, to me shows even more strength. That, yep, I missed that day. I'm going to forgive myself and say, I was sick yesterday, or something came up, or I had to help a friend, and I'm going to come back today. So once I kind of gave myself permission to do that, and I still sometimes have to explain myself to people. I still feel like, well, it wasn't 100 days in a row, or whatever. But that's one of the reasons when I started 100 Days of Notebooking, it's really important that people understand that it doesn't have to be 100 straight days of notebooking, that it is showing up to your notebook. And if 100 days takes you a year, you still wrote in your notebook for 100 days.
I love that perspective. Yes.
Yeah, I think I decided during the pandemic I wanted to get out and walk more, and I started walking. I started walking every day. I saw this woman on TikTok walking a 5K every day, and I thought I could do that. So I started walking 5Ks, and then I did 100 5Ks in a year. And it took me a year. But that's still a big deal. So I think that it's about just showing up and forgiving yourself. To be honest, I'm a little suspicious of people that are like, I've done this every day for 6 years and never missed a day. Seriously, like never one day? Like not at all? Because I feel like that is almost unattainable for most people. And I want things to be reachable. I don't know if that's really a word, but you know what I mean? I want things to be within the reach for people, including myself, to be able to do, and not look at it and say, oh, I could never do that. And it's so funny because I'm coming up with my new streak, actually. And I don't know. I don't think I brought it home. I think I printed something out and I didn't bring it home. But someone that I work with was doing 75 hard. Have you guys heard of 75 hard?
No. So Mandi says, yes, I have not heard of this. So let me hear.
So Mandi, you might know more than I do, but I think it's a health thing to get yourself. And it's like drink a gallon of water a day.
Oh, yes.
What else?
So 2 workouts. One of them is inside. One of them is outside.
Right.
No alcohol. Yeah. So, and
there's an eating rule too in there, I think.
Exercise. So like the one on the inside has to be so many minutes. And then also just getting outside. So my son-in-law does that at the beginning of every year.
Okay.
And so that's why I know about it. And here's what I love about it. Like it puts some very healthy habits in your view, something to go with every day. And he's always very successful. But then it's also very hard to maintain
Right.
because it's very strict. And like he is out walking outside when it's like freezing outside because he's bundling up because he wants to adhere to exactly what this plan is. And so I love the idea behind it. I don't know that it's sustainable for
Right.
long-term healthy habits. But
Well, and again, I applaud anybody that wants to challenge themselves in
absolutely.
any way. Having said that, I am very sensitive to words and to language and all the language, because I did a little bit of research about it, and like all the language seems very harsh.
Yeah.
And again, if that is going to motivate you, then that's going to motivate you. But I was born in 72. So I was looking for 72. And I'm still looking for the right word. I don't like the word soft because I feel like that doesn't give the right.
Well, there's actually something called 75 soft.
There is. So I don't want to take that. But I want something that's a challenge, but that is where you're loving yourself and still making yourself better. Not to say that the people, I don't want to offend anybody, but I just feel like for me, the language is really important. And so I thought, I'm in the works of designing this, and 72, I'm going to start sometime in October because then we have 72 days left of the year.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'll be posting about it once I finally figure it out. But I'm always kind of looking for something that I can.
72, like almost like 72 days showing up for me.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I like that.
Or
I was also born the same year, so.
Oh, there we go.
I'll have to follow this journey.
Okay, good.
You could just like do 72 days of I matter.
I mean, we could do that.
Well, maybe you can define it how you want to define it. You know,
I really do like that. I matter. All right, I'm right. I'm adding that to my little doodle.
There we go.
I love that. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was just riffing off of your tradition of the you matter. So
yes.
Did you hear that, Bowl? You matter.
That's right.
Because there is a question in there about it.
Is there?
I think. I mean, we really can't talk about you without a you matter question, to be quite honest.
Right.
But the bull doesn't think that we know we're talking about.
We'll work it in. We'll make sure.
And I feel like you've already given us such a great amount of already these strategies, so it must want more Michelle knowledge. What are 3 timeless strategies or mindsets for any educator?
One of them is everybody has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Every child who sits in front of you, every teacher who works with you, every administrator in your building, everybody comes to that building with a story. And I think that's an important thing to think about throughout the day when things start happening. I think, I don't know if I'm going to get this right. Behavior is communication.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Every choice that all of us make is a way to communicate. And I think that's something else that's important. And I think not just thinking about our students, but thinking about ourselves. Our behavior is communication as well. And I think, and I know we were kind of joking about working this in, but I do think you matter is probably the third one for me. And it's something that I write a you matter message every day. And I've done it for 8 years, maybe. I even did it all through the pandemic and everything. I write a message. I started it when I was teaching 6th and 7th grade, and I come from an elementary background where we used to do, morning messages and things like that. And I just thought, you know what? They need this message. And so I just wrote it on the board in the back of my room and didn't say anything. And I mean, when I tell you, I think 3 weeks went by and I wrote 3 weeks worth of messages and not one student said one word to me about it. And I wondered, are they even reading it? And the day I wondered that, I got an email from a mom, and she said, my son comes home and the only thing he tells me about is the message in your classroom. And I thought to myself, I don't even see him reading it. But she said, he tells me that you write about you matter. Middle school can be a hard time for everybody.
Yes.
And I wanted to make sure that the kids knew that I saw them and that they're important to me. And so there's lots of ways I show it, but this message was one of the ways. And it really became, as the years went on, it became, you have to review class rules. My only class rule is you matter. And we would talk about what that looks like. And we would talk about how we can do that for each other and how we can do that. And it got to the point where I had students writing messages, which just made me so happy. I post them every day on social media, and it's something that has really just become, I think I've become known for that or connected to that. And I started in my new school this year, and it's I didn't know my principal very well, and she's amazing. We have 3 assistant principals, and one of them I had worked with before. And the 3 of us were sitting at a conference, and he told her, he said, "Oh, Michelle does these great You Matter messages." And I'm so grateful he did that, because I don't know that I would have told her that, that I don't know. And so they got me aboard. We have over 1,600 middle school students in our school, and the You Matter message is right in the front of the building when everybody walks in. So the kids read it, the teachers read it. And I say all that to say it's just important that people feel seen and heard. And that's just one way that I do it. And I feel like everybody needs that, to feel like they're valued and they're part of a community.
Agreed. I love that. And I mean, what a wise way for your administration to pull you in as a new teacher to make you feel valued, right?
Exactly.
Because now you're contributing to the school.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Give you an instant connection to every student and teacher, because it can be hard as a facilitator to get into classrooms. And now they gave you kind of this instant, segue into it.
It's a gift. It really is a gift. And I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah. They're lucky to have you too, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. I think we have time for one more question. I think Mandi and I both have room for one more. I think this is a perfect way to end our conversation. Your life as a notebook writer started on Saturday, November 5th, 1983, and as a blogger since 2007. What impact has this love had on your life and your teaching?
Such a good question. Notebooking, well, both of them have had a huge impact. My first year teaching, I was teaching 3rd grade in Massachusetts, and it was a small school. I was hired like a week before the school year started. So it was a case of like nothing was ready, and my principal was amazing. And he goes, "Just decorate the classroom with the kids." And so, and if you remember back to your first year in the classroom, you don't know, or I didn't know anything. So I was very nervous, and I will never forget, I had a student who had a lot of significant issues. He had a lot of anger issues, a lot of struggles that he was going through, and I did not know how to help him. And the only thing I could think of was I grabbed a notebook, and he would step out into the hall when he got angry. So I just grabbed a notebook and a pencil, and I handed it to him. And I would stand in the doorway while he was in the hall, keep an eye on him, and, monitor my students. That was just because I know that's what helps me. That was, oh my gosh, there's a notebook. Maybe this will help. And when I tell you, from that moment on, when that kid got angry, he picked up the notebook and showed me, and he stepped into the hall himself and he was able to, I mean, it wasn't magic, but it was a coping skill that helped him a lot. And I thought, okay, this isn't just me. This can help them. And so it's something that I have used in every classroom that I have taught in since. I think notebooks are a great way to process information. It's a great way to reflect. It's how I make sense of things. I often say I untangle the world in my notebook. Everything that's all tangled up in your head. And doing that as an English teacher is an easy fix. Doing it when I'm teaching communications was a little bit different. But it was great. And then when I have been blogging, although I haven't been regularly recently, but I blogged for a really long time, and I brought that into the classroom. I did it with other teachers. That's how I met a lot of teachers across the country, across the world for that matter, and really learned a lot of things. And I had my students blogging for such a long time. And I'll tell you a funny story. January, I joined Orange Theory, a gym, and there was a new coach there. And he came over to me and he said, are you Miss Haseltine? And I said, oh my gosh, yes. He said, you were my 6th grade English teacher. And I said, oh, hi, Corbin. And he said, I remember you taught us how to blog.
Aww.
You know, the thing the kids rip, like the one thing he said, I remember we blogged all the time. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. So I know it made an impact and it gave them a voice. Notebooking and blogging, any kind of writing gives you an outlet, but the blogging gives you an audience. You know,
Yes.
You are sharing it beyond, and it's not just a teacher. It's other classes, it's other students, it's your aunt that lives 500 miles away. Like, it's whomever you want. And I think for some of them, that was really, really powerful.
I agree. I had fun reminiscing as I was looking through some of your blog posts and the communities that you were a part of, like back in those days when you would host blogs and people would come on and they would,
Yes.
comment on you. What a wonderful way it was to build a community. And I think I've said it here before, so Mandi's heard it before. I still think that blogging is not done. And I still think that it might be the way that we get back into the days when we remember like Twitter connecting us. I still have this like, maybe that's what we need to start, Michelle. We need to start blogging again. I know I need to, because I also think in my head that that's just the one place where ideas will never die, is on a blog, right? Teachers can always search for them and see them. But I do have this old Twitter will never die and blogging's coming back.
I agree with both of those things. And it's funny because for a while I had my own website. I've since stopped using that website. Because I want to blog, but I'm still trying to figure out wait, is it Medium? Is it Substack? Do you know what I mean? Because everything's changing. And I think that maybe I just have to stop worrying about the platform and just get back to the writing.
I agree with you. I think I do agree.
I think you're right. And I think we need to start again and start those communities again or rejoin them.
Well, you've got me thinking about, I have a website that I post my kids' work on in my classroom, and I haven't done it in a while because it just died. Or I guess we kind of got spoiled. Like the connections were just so instantaneous. You didn't have to work for them. And now we're back to those days of feeling kind of alone in our classrooms. Like if you're not on TikTok, honestly, you're kind of lost as an educator if you don't already have your connections. And I was like, as you were saying that, I was like, maybe it's time to just keep sharing that out and get that going again. But Mandi and I have struggled with where to go. So you're not alone. We've had this conversation before. We've just decided to pick the thing we love the most and just share the heck out of that one place.
Yes.
We don't know if we're right though.
But see, you're taking the leap. You're doing it half-assed, or you're doing it full-assed. You're jumping in.
That's right.
Yes. Well, and also I think you said this too, is that you have to find a way to do it that you're going to do it. So if you're always experimenting with something new, it's always going to be daunting.
Yes.
So I don't know, pick the thing you're good at and just stick with it. People will find you, I think,
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, I cannot say enough. I think Mandi will second this, that this was just so wonderful today, Michelle.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
This
wonderful.
was so much fun.
So much fun chatting with you. I'm going to zoom in on each of ours, and then we'll wrap things up for today with just a wonderful way to spend a Saturday with you. Look at that. And the
I
pink
know.
for her
So
typewriter.
somehow I've got mine's all blurry, but you can see it.
We'll share it out on Twitter, and
Yeah.
people can see it there for sure. We'll see if my camera agrees, because usually mine's the crabby one.
I know. Mine's just being grouchy this morning.
It is. Yeah. So so
look
much
at
fun.
that.
So, so many, Michelle tidbits and wonderful things for sure.
I mean, those are just amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm leaving here feeling so inspired myself. So this has been fantastic.
Well, that makes us just so happy. So happy.
Thank you.
So every time we have a friend on the show, we like to do a giveaway. And so this week, people can head over to our Instagram account, just search Doodle and Chat, and you'll find us there. And we're going to be giving away a Doodle and Chat notebook for people to enter, so they can come and like the post and follow us and follow Michelle and join in on a fun giveaway. And then join us back here next actually, I don't know if I told Mandi this. There's no Doodle and Chat next Saturday. I'm going camping. So we'll share out on Instagram the winner of the notebook, and then we'll see everybody back here. Hold on, pause for a second so I can find the date. We will be back here Saturday, October 12th, for another Saturday morning of Doodle and Chat at 9:33ish Central Standard Time. So until then, everybody have a great Saturday, and we'll see you in October.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.